by swearing. You just have to do this occasionally. Okay. So when Rachel asked me to do this, she said business side, and I didn't want to bore the arse off you lot talking about my business and basically flogging it to you, because that isn't really teaching you anything that might be useful to you. So I'm going to have to use it as a case study, but I'm going to try and make it as relevant to you guys as possible as to what I've done. So I qualified, believe it or not, as a PT last July. So I've actually been qualified a year and 3 months, something like that. I'm actually currently 47, so I qualified at 46. And my business actually started in the December, just gone. So it's been running now 10 months. And I've just bought myself a new car. So that gives you an idea of what you can do if you work your bollocks off, basically, and you know what you're doing. And the reason maybe I do know what I'm doing is I used to work in marketing, I used to work in PR, then I went on to lecturing marketing, then I married an executive, and this is an expat wife, very luxurious, over in Shanghai, had maids did bugger all. Oh, I talk a bit of English. Then I came back as a divorcee, homeless, with 3 kids. And now my house is bought and paid for, and that was 6 years ago. So it's just a question of manning up, doing the hours, and you'll get there. So what we're going to try and cover today, as quickly as possible, is how to actually create a business. Now that sounds ridiculous because most of you are already working as personal trainers. But I actually want you to reflect on the business that you're currently working. Now if any of you are earning as much as you ever want to earn, and doing as few hours as you ever want to do, this section isn't for you, you can go and find your coffee. For the rest of you who are interested in earning more and working less, and being able to do what I did, which is take 2 holidays this summer and still have your bank account going ping, 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 and not actually go without money when you're on holiday, this section might be for you. And how I did it, and then how to obviously promote your business, talk about your business with passion, that your audience are actually going to understand and care about. I'm sure you've heard marketeers say to you before, at some point, no one actually gives a bollocks about your qualifications. They don't. Alright? It might help impress them further down the line that you've got more qualifications than the guy down the road, but actually to begin with, that isn't your client's concern at all. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, and then we're going to talk about how to actually improve your business and develop your business once you've decided what business you're actually in. And I know we can all be woohoo here and go, well, we're here to help people and make their lives better and make them more confident. If we're talking fat loss, let's talk bottom money as well, and let's talk about actually earning money and being able to retire at some point, unless you really want to be doing burpees at the age of 90 to a class of 100 people. Personally, no, I've got plans for Marbella as soon as my kids have grown up, because that's where a single woman would go, to be fair. Right, so what we're going to do when we go through this is we're going to talk about why you're in the business you're in, from your point of view and your client's point of view. And I want you to examine quite deeply what your personal why is. I'm going to do that as an exercise. Then we're going to go through, so these are all just like little things to remind me, because I haven't practiced this. I've no idea, I might be here till 5 and the other guys may not get a chance to speak. So we're going to talk about actually how you only need to answer one problem, and I will go through an example of that for you. What your actual niche is, what your personal voice is, and then how, and actually all the tools that will help you create a good business. So a little bit about me, and the reason we're doing a bit about me is because the backstory is my why. And this is really important that you have a why, because then you know who you're going to be talking to, you know who your audience is. So my backstory is, from the age of 6, I was obese. So I went through all that kiddie thing with being obese, which is low self-esteem, low confidence, etc. You wouldn't know there, because I was a massive loudmouth. I had all those issues, to the extent that at 16, 17, 18, all I actually wanted to be was an actress. Hey, I've got a stage. And I had no confidence to go to a drama school and pursue a career on the boards, so to speak. Not helped by my mother, but never mind. She's another story. So by the time I was 23, I weighed 17 stone 3. Now you have to remember this is back in the 80s, 88, 89, 90, something like that. So obesity wasn't as common as it is now. You didn't see 17 stone women walking around Bournemouth that often. So even as an adult, I got catcalled at by other adults, etc. Didn't have a boyfriend, would have liked a boyfriend. Wasn't actually a virgin, someone must have been brave, eh? You know, I was working a job, not getting promoted, etc. There are so many other sub-levels to being obese on a level of discrimination, not just who fancies you and whether you can wear a miniskirt, but actually even in the workplace. You're seen as fat, you're seen as lazy. You know, there are those associations in people's minds, no matter how much anyone kind of does positive image, body image nowadays. So by the time I was 25, I was down to 9 stone 10. Had one of those little turning points, sat next to my aunt who actually was a bodybuilder. Boxing Day, and she was half my size. In fact, she might have been the size of my thigh. I'm not quite sure. And she had a millionaire toy boy. That's kind of a turning point. She sat there, oh. And she was like, not big. And she still is, actually. She's still a cow. So I went on a diet, the 150th diet I've ever been on in my life, but for some reason this one worked. Now I'm going to be absolutely 100% clear with you, whether you hate sugar, whether you love fat, whether you like paleo, whether you like, if it fits your macros, whether you believe in, calories out. Don't actually give a monkeys. Any diet to a certain extent will work. That is actually up to the dieter to make it work. Now, you can cause massive problems for that dieter by restricting food, because at some point they will go on some kind of binge if a food is a no-no. But almost any diet will work because it's going to be an improvement on what the fat person was eating beforehand. So, me going on a diet is a slight improvement on me ordering double large fish and chips pretending I was buying them for someone else. So basically, for the next 20 years, I did what a lot of people do. I'm up at the moment, sometimes I'm down. I go up and down like a yo-yo. So actually, I've been obese, not just at 23 or at 6, but at 3 times in my life. So from 23, I kept it off, and I kept it off by basically starving myself. Till I was 31, till I had my first kid. When I had my first kid, it was like, well, hey, I can eat. So I did. I ate for England, and I ate everything that's bad for you. And then I starved myself when that baby was born, to the extent that I couldn't actually breastfeed, because I was starving myself to get back into a size 10 jeans. And I did the same with child 2, and then the same with child 3. Then I went through a divorce. Divorce is great for losing a bit of extra weight. Throwing up down the toilet because I was homeless. And then I went on a little party cycle, because I got myself a toy boy. So I went out and partied a lot, gained a bit more weight, went back to a personal trainer, lost the weight, started a business, gained some weight. So the other thing I'm going to tell you is you're not the cure. None of you are the cure. You can slag off Weight Watchers, you can slag off Slimming World, you can slag off Juice Plus, you can slag off Herbalife and go, we're better. I had a personal trainer for a year and a half. I got down to 15% body fat, stone and a half lighter than I am now, plus the fact that I was at 15% body fat, my size was 3 sizes smaller than I am now. You're not the cure. There's stuff going on in mindset that you need to start thinking about and coaching people for. That's my why. My why is to come and talk to personal trainers to a certain extent and tell them, slightly bold as brass, you're rubbish. If you think having a personal training qualification and getting someone to eat a low-carb diet is going to fix their problems for the rest of their lives, you're wrong. So that's my why. My why in setting up the company was, I love food. I adore food. I'm a typical fat girl. I like food. And the one thing my personal trainer could not do for me when I was doing my year and a half with him was give me any more direction than, for breakfast you can have 3 eggs. For lunch you can have meat or fish with some salad and some nuts. Oh, for a snack, have a handful of nuts. Now luckily I'm a cook. Strange that. And I could take his guidelines and make recipes, meals that fitted my kids, that fitted me. But I get onto that. I like putting up naughty photos because I'm single. I don't get any, so I'm not going to put it up there. I met people when I was with this trainer who had reasonably good reasons to lose weight and failed to stick to the nutrition plan. So when I qualified as a personal trainer, initially I was just going to train other fat 40-year-old women because I felt like, oh, I've cracked it. Yeah, right. And I'm going to show them how to crack it. And then, because I was posting loads and loads of recipes, loads of people contacting me about the recipes, everyone wanted me to write a cookbook. I thought, that's not going to make much money. I know. I'll help personal trainers because they don't actually, they might write a nutrition plan, but it's very rare that nutrition plan translates to a recipe. And the point being that people do not generally look at a list of foods and they go, oh, that's a shepherd's pie. They don't do it. They don't make that association. So that was my why. My story, my backstory, having been obese, going up and down all the time, loving food, telling you guys rather antagonistically you're not necessarily the solution, is my story. That's my passion, that's my why, that's what I talk about. If that means I offend people and they don't buy from me, I'm not too worried about that. And this is what I mean by you and your why. I don't want you running businesses that mean nothing to you. It comes across. Okay? Never be worried about the people you offend. For every person you offend, you will attract somebody else to you. So for every personal trainer I offend when I go, you know better than Weight Watchers, I attract a load of Weight Watchers people. No, I'm kidding. There will be other personal trainers who get what I'm saying. So if I offend one and one goes off in a little strop, two will come up to talk to me to ask more about what I mean. So what I want you to do, because I want to try and make this as interactive as possible, is I want you to very quickly, in a few words, have a little think about what your why is. Now, get your notebooks, pens, go, 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 go. What your why is. Why do you run the business that you do? What's your why? What's your passion? What do you really want to talk to people about when they walk in the door and come and see you as a PT? What is it? Is it health? Is it fitness? Is it you want to make them the best athlete in the world? Is it because you want to get them slim? What is it? Do you want to give them longevity? What's your why? Anyone not writing up pickle? You know what it is? Okay, cool. Okay, see. Most exercise I've got. When you've got your why, when you understand what your mission is, because I meet a lot of personal trainers who don't have that much confidence, believe it or not, particularly when they're newly qualified. They don't have confidence because they look outside themselves. They look at what other people, other personal trainers say. They look at the trolling going on Facebook about different fat loss methods. If you've ever watched Phil Learning, Ben Coomer, James Conchi Mitchell, Joseph Agu having a little spat and Gordon Greenholm on Facebook, I can't blame most personal trainers going, oh my God, what's going on? Because they're arguing opposite points of view on nutrition. And then they get frightened and they don't speak out and they don't say what they believe because they're frightened of being trolled by other PTs. Once you've got your passion, you understand your why. Does it really matter what Phil Learning thinks? Does it really matter what Alan Aragon thinks? What the scientists are saying? They're not your audience anyway. Your audience is your potential client. For a start. So once you've got your passion, once you've got your mission, once you've got your why, you go out and you take that message to your audience and bugger everybody else who disagrees with you. What's it matter? Those people do not pay your bills, they do not understand your story, they don't understand your passion. So if you ever have a wobble over confidence about what you're going to say and who you're going to say it to, and oh my God, what if people ask me a question I can't answer? It doesn't matter. If it's driven by your passion, it's driven by a story, no one generally is going to ask. Right. So, you get your why. You understand that that is the reason you're in business. One thing you do actually have to know is there actually a business out there? This is what we talk about niching. And niche down and niche down and niche down. Now, there is a famous marketing phrase that says you can build the best mousetrap in the world, but if people don't know that you've got the best mousetrap in the world, they can't buy it from you. Yeah, that's a famous, it might be an Edison, I'm not sure, but it's a famous marketing quote I used years ago when I used to lecture in marketing. And that's absolutely true. You could be the best personal trainer in the world, you could be the person who could get me back to 15% fat, body fat, and keep me there. But unless you come and tell me that you can do that, in terms that I understand as your audience, in a way that interests me, then I'm not going to buy from you. Something else I'd like to say is it's no good building the best mousetrap in the world if you have a rat problem. And that's where you do some market research and you get your niche a bit more defined. Oh yeah, we'll go on to this. So, the best market research in the world, believe it or not, because you can go endlessly on market research, you really can. There are enough stats out there to keep you amused for the next year and a half. It's not actually going to make you money. The best market research in the world is actually observation. That's it, observation. What are you observing about people and their behaviours? Is it supporting what you believe in and your passion? Or is it against what you believe in and your passion? Or are you seeing a niche that actually do gel with you and gel with your message? And understand where you're coming from and what you're trying to say to them. If you have, you've then got a business. Quite seriously, that is as simple as it gets. You can go double check your stats, you can lose yourself up your own bottom looking at stats and whether it's viable and how much money you spend and where to market it and Actually, it's not that difficult. What I observed when I was training with my trainer was Kay. Right, so Kay's about 20 stone. She was a friend of mine in my village. Nice village, never lived there again. And she was basically an executive level MBA at Nottingham County Council. So she's not exactly thick. She got her MBA from Warwick, one of the best business schools in the country. She's not thick. She's 20 odd stone, she's about that big. She once was 10, a size 10. She's 42, she's got no kids, she wants kids. So she's at my personal trainer, who's a hormone specialist, woohoo, to lose weight. Now this woman, so I've worked my way down now. I'm down from a size 18, 35% body fat, I'm down to a 10. No idea what I was at that point, probably about 19%. She could actually leg press 200 kg. She loves that because she could leg press more than me and I've been training longer. She didn't lose the weight because she couldn't stick to the food plan, because when you're over 20 stone, eating meat or fish 3 or 4 times a day with some accompanying vegetables and a handful of nuts is going to get slightly boring, isn't it? And she came around to my house one day and I cooked us lunch and it was actually bang on plan. And she went, "How did you know to cook that?" This is a woman with an MBA. How did you know to cook that? She could not do that translation from a list of ingredients into a meal. The next thing she said to me was, "Will you cook all my meals for me so I can freeze them and eat them for the following week?" At which point I completely and utterly let her down and went no. So I really cooked for 3 kids. I'm not going to cook for you and your husband as well. Next time I saw her was in the local co-op. And guess what? And I am not making this up. Her shopping basket at 9:30 at night was filled with pizza, crisps, chocolate, etc. She saw me. I must admit I was really popular in the village at this point because I was like, you know, on a mission. So she saw me, kind of tried to hide the basket and went, "Look, we've got guests, it's not funny." God, I must have terrified people. They felt they had to explain to me, who wasn't even their personal trainer, in the co-op, why their basket was full of junk food. So I warned her trainer, because obviously I was training with him. I one day and said, "Kay's going off plan, mate." She was out there, she got loads of pizzas, loads of chocolate, loads of crisps, bottles of wine, had friends. I know about that, she's already phoned me, she's got friends over. That's how much I terrified her. She went back and she phoned her trainer going, "It wasn't for me. If Karen says anything, it wasn't for me." for her. What happened? She was training with him 4 times a week. With days rates, that's £160 a week she's giving him to get to this body where she can have a baby at 42. Right? She falls sick, so she starts training for a couple of weeks. Then she goes back to training with him. Then she goes on holiday to Egypt. Then she eats what the hell she likes, and she comes back. She's actually lost weight, eating what the hell she likes. Then she goes back to him. Then she has another book from Egypt. Then she doesn't go back to him. All the time her food's going more and more off track. And eventually she stopped training with him. The food went off track long before she stopped training with him. She stopped training with him. Last time I saw her, she's still over 20 stone. She's still about that high. No, she hasn't got baby. But more importantly, from your point of view, or from my company point of view, Dave's lost 160 quid a week. Because she couldn't stick to nutrition, because it didn't give her enough guidelines. He didn't just lose her 160 a week, he also lost another friend of mine as well, who is a nurse and was working 12-hour shifts and just couldn't do the nutrition he wanted, and then was going into the staff room and it was cakes today, and it's always cakes today. If anyone knows any nurses, it's cake day every bloody day as far as I can tell. And she would occasionally take her little packed lunch box of nuts and whatever and go stick it in the staff canteen. And then some days she'd be too busy and couldn't be bothered with it, and then turn up and she's starving, and then there's a cake. And then being a dieter with a dieter's mentality towards eating cake, what does the dieter do? What does eating one cake? Yeah, that's nothing to do with addiction. Absolutely nothing to do with addiction. It's to do with that thought, I've blown it now. I've had a Jaffa cake, I might as well eat the whole packet. Start again tomorrow. Nothing to do with sugar addiction at all. So the problem for Kay, the problem for my other friend, problem to a certain extent for me, was actually a nutrition plan didn't go far enough. Telling someone to go Google a recipe does not go far enough. People are busy enough, they've got stresses enough, they don't need to be told when they're paying someone £40 an hour, go Google a recipe. Excuse me, what am I paying you for? My gardener has a 3-year horticultural degree. Does he tell me to go Google some plants, dig a bloody hole, and at some point he'll backfill it? No. He does what I consider a thorough job, which is the whole shebang. If I go to someone for weight loss, I expect a thorough whole shebang. Most clients do. I remember my complete surprise the first time I went to a personal trainer and they gave me a training plan. And I thought, was that it? I've just given you 40 quid for a training plan. Don't forget, I was general public. I was used to going to Weight Watchers for a £5, and they gave me a blinking magazine and a load of recipes and a weigh-in, and woohoo! You've lost £2 this week. Go to a personal trainer. Can't spot for shit, mate. Going to work on that. What's that got to do with anything? Did finally get me to be able to squat. I can't squat again now, so I've sat on my arse for a year. So the story ended that obviously Dave lost a load of money. So when I came to my business, what I went with was my gut instinct plus a bit of research. Tiny bit of research, didn't have to do much research to be honest, because the research in my head was basically, our personal trainers a little bit shit, they're health and fat loss drugs, yeah they are right, I can help them. And that was it. And that's me just insulting the whole room now. And I've said this before in much bigger conferences, so I'm not too worried. And from that, obviously then, what business can I build? Well, obviously it's going to be a business that actually takes care of that one particular tool, one particular problem that I'm going to answer for PTs, which is, you've got a load of clients who want to lose weight. You know, if you're training athletes, obviously this isn't relevant to you necessarily, and you give them nutrition plans, they don't stick on plan. And you're constantly coaching them and fighting them and, you know, telling them to Google stuff and all the rest of it. I can answer one problem. My business answers one problem. And that's what we're going to talk about, is actually, this is just like a little mind map of how it overcame, how all the different like sub-problems came into that. Everything I've just talked about is on that mind map. If you like, personal trainers, bland nutrition plans, food magazines, slimming clubs, yo-yo diets, everything I've just spoken about. The point is, with any business, you only have to solve one problem. Everyone overcomplicates everything when it comes to business. If you have a passion and it solves one problem alone, that is enough to build a successful business. I will give you an example, completely irrelevant to personal trainers. Right, I've got 3 guinea pigs. Don't ask. I've got kids. Right, I run a business, I'm a single parent, I've got 3 guinea pigs, I've also got a dog, I've got 101 things going on in my head every single day, I've got a mother who nags the hell out of me and seems to forget I'm 47. I've got a 16-year-old daughter who can only strop and get more piercings. And I've got an 11-year-old who's got middle child syndrome and a 9-year-old who's quite sweet and a tomboy and worries that she's gay. And then I've got an ex-husband who has nothing to do with any of us. And family who interfere. So I've got these 3 guinea pigs. Guinea pigs need their toenails clipping. Yeah? What effort does it take for me, busy, ordering my food online, doing all the stuff I need to do for my business, for my family, and stressed out of my head, to remember toenail clipping for guinea pigs every 3 months? It's a nightmare. Constantly forget it. Constantly forget it. And then if I do remember it, I've then got to phone the vet, book the damn guinea pigs in, get them in their carrier, take them to the vet, sit in the vet's waiting room for the vet to clip the guinea pig's toenails for me to pay to take them home, to remember to do it again in 3 months' time. How much would I pay if there was a company that texts me, your guinea pig's toenails need clipping, we will come round next Monday at 2 p.m, do that for you? How much would I pay for that one problem to be taken off my brain, to be solved? That's a business. It's bizarre, it's stupid, it's niche, but that's a business. It's solving one problem. If you look at the internet today, and you look at Google, 17th century man didn't have that kind of information available in one day. In one day. We have, like, the Times, in one day, has more information in it than 17th century man got in his lifetime. That is what you call information overload. We're stressed, we work longer hours, we get less holidays, we're more American than the damn Americans. Yeah? And we are on information overload. Your clients are on information overload. Is it particularly helpful to them when you release a blog telling them the 10 benefits of coconut water? No, it isn't. It's just more information on top of information on top of information, which conflicts other information. What it actually leads to is stagnation and fright. People just freeze. They're overloaded by this information, so they just freeze and they do nothing. Or they look for confirming information or information and they actually do nothing. So you don't need to be putting out blogs and information posts about split squats or the best type of food to eat or the fat burning properties of X, Y, Z or fish oils and how that will stop you getting dementia. You don't need to do that. That information's out there if they really want it. What they want is the solution to one problem and one problem alone, and that is whatever your niche is. So if they want to lose weight, that's all you have to tell them. I can help you. Don't use the word fat loss, they don't understand it. I can help you lose weight. If you come to me now, you will be a dress size smaller by Christmas. If you don't come to me now, you will be exactly the same size you are by Christmas. What do you want to do? Does that not sell your service? If a personal trainer actually came up to me in the state that I am currently and went, tell you what, Karen, if you come to me 4 times a week and we're going to do 5x5s, then we're going to do metabolic finishes, and then every other day we're going to do some HIIT work, and then you're going to do some lifts in the morning before you get up and even had a coffee with your dog, and then you'll definitely be 2 sizes smaller by Christmas. I'll go, bye! Don't want to hear it. Fat people don't want to hear that. You know? You don't want to hear that, because you know you're out of shape, you know you can't do that. You don't need someone telling you all the stuff they're going to do to you, which sounds like it's A, going to hurt, and B, too much work. All I want to hear, as a potential client of any of you guys, is that you can get me a dress size small by Christmas. How you do it, up to you. Buy my product, it'll help. Yeah? That's all I need to know. I need to know you can solve my one problem, like my guinea pig's toenails being clipped. One problem, solve that, I'll pay you. Simple. So this is what you do with your business. This is your building blocks. This is what you do. You start with your why, you start with your passion, who you're going to talk to. I talk to personal trainers, but I don't talk to any old personal trainers. We all know that the personal training business within the first 2 years has a turnover of 70%. People who start and don't complete. Can't get a business going, can't get an income going because they're trying to please all the people all the time. They haven't had the benefit of me telling them all you need to do is go out and clip a few kids' toenails, basically. So I talk to the top personal trainers, the elite personal trainers, the personal trainers who actually give a damn, to be honest, and really do want to make a difference to their clients' lives and understand that it's a long problem and it's not easily solved. And this is just one tool, one solution to one problem. That's it. That's all I do. So I decided what. Obviously it's a database, it's a website, it rebrands it, you can put it under your brand, you can make loads of money from it because you can sell it, or you can use it to add value. Doesn't really matter. That's the what. The when, well, it took me 5 months to develop it. The where, obviously it's on the web. I advertise on the web. And who is it to? You lot. This is what you need to do with your clients. What's your passion? Where are they? Who's your niche? How are you going to market to them? What are you going to spend to market to them? Because that's the other thing we come across with personal trainers. An inability to spend money. Promoting your business. Okay. Now, think before you speak. Interesting one for me. Because I stood up in front of 70 personal trainers who do 6-week transformations and told them 6-week transformations fucks people's heads up and they really shouldn't be doing them. And those are my potential clients. And I stood up and said that in front of people who potentially could buy off me. So that's an interesting one. But when I say think before you speak, what I'm saying here is think about who your target audience is. Don't go running around trying to pick up every tool going and talk to everybody. That's not necessary. The only people who need to hear what you have to say is your target audience. And if your target audience is 40-year-old women who want to lose weight, then that's the only people who need to hear what you're saying. Yeah? And that's not really deep enough. You need to get more into your avatar than that because there's a massive range of 40-year-old women who want to lose weight. There's the 40-year-old woman who needs their hand holding, who's a bit of a wuss, who works shifts, who wants to lose weight. And then there's the 40-year-old woman like me, who's a bit more ballsy, and you can talk to me how you want, and I will just about take it, or I'll argue back. So take your avatar a bit further. You know, what class are you looking for? What educational level are you looking for? What income are you looking for? Because the more you fine-tune that avatar, the easier it is for you to find them, to talk to them, to advertise to them, to sell to them. If that's who it is. Time saving. Right. So what you have to say, we've kind of covered what you have to say. You don't actually have to say all the things that you're currently saying, most of you. It's boring, it's repetitive, everyone does it. Okay? How you say it. This is so important. Storytelling is the most important thing you can do in business. Storytelling, not facts and figures. Tell a story. I'll give you an example. I'm not religious, a complete atheist, but never mind. Let's use Jesus. Woo! Told in parables. Good Samaritan, what is it? It's a parable. Does it have a message, a moral at the end? Yes, it does. Right? So when we market to people, we market on stories with a message or a moral at the end of it. If any of you ever get onto my email list, God bless you, but you will see that everything is a story. I very rarely mention what the company actually does, because who cares? I tell stories about getting lost in the middle of the night and your Google's gone down, your TomTom's not working and your phone's out of signal, and you're trying to get to a restaurant, brand new, bone conversion steakhouse, yum yum, with all your mates from the gym and you're completely and utterly lost on country lanes. Yeah, and then you see in the distance a garage and the lights are on, it's the 24th, thank you for such ridiculous working hours in this country. You pull in, you know you can either buy a map, ask the guy, whatever. You will now get to the restaurant on time to have steak with your mates. It's a story. It's got nothing to do with fit pro client recipes. What's the moral? Without a map, it's going to take you 3 times as long to get to the destination. Without fit pro client recipes, it's going to take your clients 3 times as long because they're going to keep falling off plan. You see, it's a moral, it's a story, follow through. This is all you have to do with your clients. Think of your stories that you want to tell. And I'm not talking about Julie who lost 6 stone and here's a photo. That's not a story. A story can be about Hannibal Lecter's another one of mine. How you're all like Hannibal Lecter. Right? Hannibal Lecter, we're actually talking about Anthony Hopkins, how he was the second actor to Richard Burton for years. Richard Burton, the womanising, rather good-looking Welshman who married Liz Taylor twice. And all the time, nobody knew Anthony Hopkins' name. Doing major roles in films, good films. Nobody knew his name. Richard Burton dies, womanised a bit too much, drank a bit too much, he dies. Anthony Hopkins is still building his craft, still working away, still getting like leads and second parts, and then he does Hannibal Lecter role. Anyone know how long he was actually on screen in that first movie? He won an Oscar. Anyone know? 16. 16 minutes he was on screen, he won an Oscar. Didn't get paid that much for that movie. Anyone know what he got paid for the sequel? It was something like 26 million. But the story isn't about being Hannibal Lecter, and it's not about being Anthony Hopkins. What it's actually about is persistence. Persistence gets you there. What a brilliant story for your clients. But eventually they will get to wherever they want to be because they're being persistent. This is just a little thing. When you get the notes, they're going to be emailed out to you because I did kind of go and inquire, and when they told me how much it was going to cost, they're not worth that much money. So they'll get emailed out to you. This is a little thing where you can actually build your avatar slightly deeper than most people do it. So you have to kind of understand what they're thinking and feeling, what they're hearing, what they're seeing, so that you really get inside them so that your stories make sense to them. And like I say, they don't have to be stories about Julie losing 6 stone with you. At all. Oh yeah, we kind of covered trolls, but I kind of like the picture. Right. I love this picture, so I keep putting it up because I've known from my puppies. If you always know your why, if you always know what you're passionate about, no one can control you. No one. I went to a conference last week, and I said that I would explain why. So I went to a conference last week of 120 personal trainers on an email marketing conference up in Newcastle. Obviously, I do not train, I do not look like a trainer. Everyone who goes to personal training conferences goes in hoodies and leggings and looks like they're about to go and beat up some weights. You're sat in a hotel all day. There is no weights. So I knew that 2 women who were going to be there have done this really rubbish cookbook and did it ages ago, and they actually bought it for America, so it's not even their cookbook, but they don't like me very much. In fact, they've blocked me on Facebook. And I knew they were going to be there, because a few friends went, oh, it's going to be there. So, before I go into the conference, I'm thinking, okay, now do I just kind of go and hide and wear my hoodie and just stick with all my mates who are bigger and stronger and whatever, because they're quite well known in the industry, and some of them are quite nice. Or do I just get strap on my balls? I got strap on my balls. So I went in my friend's designer, leopard skin, wiggle dress with my tits up and out, and a slap load of makeup. Did they approach me? Did they say anything to me? No. Confidence can sometimes be faked, and if you know why you said something or why you criticise someone, you just stick to your guns. And I criticise them because their cookbook has people eating 850 calories a day, so no wonder they lose solid weight. So, if you know what you're talking about and you know why you say it, you will always have a pair. Even when you stand up in front of 70 personal trainers and tell them they should not be doing 6-week transformations, and why. And the most interesting thing about doing that, because even I drove home from that one in Birmingham thinking, no, for fuck's sake, Aaron, when are you going to learn to shut up and not annoy people? Because you're newly qualified, they're all looking going, who's shit? Interesting, 2 weeks later I see on a PT forum, they're discussing, unnamed, this PT who stood up in front of a room of personal trainers and told them all they shouldn't be doing transformations. I'm thinking, oh God, I'm about to be slated. I've just ruined their income. No, they're discussing the points that I made about mindset and what they're doing to people's mindset and yo-yo dieting and how actually it's giving them more pause for thought and maybe they should actually be looking more long-term. So we go from my trip back from Birmingham where I'm thinking, oh, I'm just going to go in the bath and slash my wrists now, to 2 weeks later we go, yay, someone actually listened to the one with the big tits. Oh yeah, this isn't to show off my tits by the way, this is to show off the spare skin. This is what originally gave me balls. So I've been 17 stone. If you've been 17 stone, guess what? You've got spare skin. So when I first was going to be PT 40-plus-year-old women, my mentor, and I had a business mentor, does help, said to me, I'm going to send a professional photographer up to see you, and we're going to do lots of shots of you in a gym, in skimpy workout gear, training women. And I went, no, you're not. I've got more spare skin than my bull mastiff. But more wrinkles on my arse than the average pug. You've got to be kidding me. There's no way. No one will ever come and train with me if they see a less than perfect body. And he said, right, okay, what I want you to do, go into the garden, video yourself with that spare skin and put it on Facebook. So I kind of went, no, you're right. But I did, because I'm ballsy and I'm old and I don't care. So I got my 16-year-old daughter who doesn't have spare skin, got into the garden in my little miniskirt, in my little top, all the guys fancy me because of the boobies, because I'm a MILF, and I went, woohoo, spare skin, woohoo, spare skin, put it all on Facebook, told the story of being obese, and it was shared internationally by trainers. No one had heard of me up until that point. I'd actually been qualified 3 weeks at that point. So instead of having trainers slate me for saying, do you know what, you can lose all the weight in the world, but you might actually need an operation at the end of it, it was shared everywhere. And I was called the new face of personal training. Actually, I never became a trainer, so it didn't really matter. So that's up there not to show off the perfection of my surgeon and what he did with my satin boobs, but to show you that the spare skin told a story and it connected with people. And it didn't just connect with 40-year-old women who would end up with that kind of spare skin. Oh, and that's post a tummy tuck, by the way. It actually connected with personal trainers as well, who appreciated the honesty of it. Once you've got that kind of balls, nothing else matters. Nothing you say or do matters after that. Right. Right, oh yeah, this is just to prove that my honesty and my upfrontness and whatever tends to go down well. This was a quote from a friend literally 2 weeks ago. He bought from me before the product was even ready. Because he trusted me, he trusted my quality, he trusted me because I was honest. Because I spoke in my own voice and I spoke with passion about what I believed. And you can disagree with me and that's fine, because you're just as passionate in your disagreement. PR stuff, we're going to whiz through this. If anyone wants to ask me about this, we'll talk about it another time. So, what I did to get well known, apart from obviously flash my skin at everyone and be a loudmouth, I was a loudmouth through blogs, guest blogs, I've done documentaries, I've done TVs, I've done conferences, and I've done personal public speaking. And that's all because obviously that gets me in front of my audience, which is you guys. How I did it. Now this is what a lot of PTs don't like. Money. You're running a business at the end of the day. Your mate designing you a website or a logo or your business cards is not professional looking. It just isn't. How many businesses do you know start on £100? Yeah? You've got to invest. And that isn't just saying buy my system, invest. Invest. This stuff costs money. Everything I've ever done costs money. My website cost £16,000 to put together. documentary at Alan Aragon conference in a fortnight. The flat alone that I'm putting me and the students up in is £400, let alone the travel, the food, and actually making the documentary, distributing it, and then professionally advertising it through Facebook. This is why my business has grown so rapidly, because I've not been frightened of taking the risk of putting the money in. And it could have collapsed, and I may not have got a sale. But you know what? You get to a certain age and you go, it's only money. And if it collapses and it goes wrong, I learn something from that, and I start again and I find the money elsewhere. Nothing is a perfect business. You will never have a perfect business. If you are waiting to approach someone because you just need to kind of understand, if you just go to that strength and conditioning course over in Southern Ireland, then that will give you a bit more knowledge and then you can go and approach. No! Learn as you go. Learn as you go. Nothing's important. You know, you make mistakes. My mistake was putting up a website, believe it or not. Should have just done a cookbook. The website's kind of complicated. Personal trainers don't have time for complicated. They just want the cookbook, they just want the recipes. They don't want to have to kind of go, oh, do I want to carb cycle this week, or do I want to do this with this client or that with the client? So my big mistake was my £16,000 website. It's too complex. It overcomplicated the problem. So, traditional SWOT analysis, what really matters, look at your opportunities, look externally and internally, and always, always, always remember your why. So, your strengths, your personal weaknesses are part of your SWOT analysis. Your opportunities and threats are obviously your external environment when you're looking at your niche. But personally, I don't worry too much about that. If you remember your why and you talk with passion, you'll attract the audience. It's just a question of knowing where to talk. What's happened since? This is a quick thing on product extension. Like I say, one of the mistakes was actually making a database, spending all that money on a database, too complex. Personal trainers don't have time to use it. So yes, I have permanent members, but it has led to some product extension. So it's led to Cookbooks Done For You, which is one of your Ruffle prizes. That's coming out in November, and that is a Done For You cookbook that you just label up, and you just have to trust me that they're good recipes and they will get fat loss results. It's led to a cookbook for the public, which is going out to America, so it doesn't clash with anything I'm doing here. And it actually led to Block the Bitch. Now, Block the Bitch was originally going to be mindset and coaching for 40-year-old women on fat loss and retreats and, you know, going back to what I was kind of trained for. And then a friend said to me, you love business, you love marketing, that's your qualifications, what the hell are you doing? Why do you want to coach fat loss women? Go do some confidence coaching for PTs or business women and do what I'm doing here now. And just kick arse, basically. So, always be flexible. Suddenly, Block the Bitch is no longer about fat loss for 40-year-old plus women and a nice retreat in Devon. It's now about confidence coaching for business people new to business, particularly women, because we tend to lack confidence. Everything I've learned, massive list, you'll get it, don't worry. You'll get it as an email. Be yourself, take risks. Ask and associate with influencers that you love. Yeah, I can read it to you, it's just a massive long list. Work your bollocks off. I do 15-hour days for 6 months, 7 days a week. Here I've supplied you with, like I say, this will be emailed out to you, a list of people I trust, trusted suppliers. People I think are good at what they do. That's how you contact me, various ways. You can contact me to abuse me that way as well. And if you do abuse me that way, then believe me, you'll be in your email the next day. Sales stuff, what people are actually using FPCR for. So we've got one member who's made £4,000 since we opened in cookbook sales. We've got one member who does individual nutrition plans with an individualised cookbook because he's a nutrition coach, and he charges £150 a month for those plans. Most people are with a nutrition coach 3 to 4 months. And then we've obviously got the sales pitch, your special offer for being here today. And like I said, I haven't really sold the system to you because I didn't really want to talk about selling the system to you. But if people want to know more detail about how and what it does, then obviously I'm around most of the day and you can ask me. What I wanted to talk to you about was building a business and how it's really done in comparison to what textbooks tell you. And then your bonus notes, just a few things that you can go through in your own time. Oh yeah, that's writing your little stories, think about human motivators, that type of thing. You'll see it all. And that's it. Because I had to rush that last 5 minutes.
Sorry.